Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm here today with my co-host, Jerrika Alex. We're the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thank you guys for being here and for listening. I hope you enjoy today's show. Hey, Jer.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I was excited to tell you this story because I thought it was a bit absurd, but I've been applying this. So listen to this. So one of my friends was like, he's pretty big into like sundry business world. And he's like, so guess what I did? I started stacking all his meetings at the Y sauna. So he like, anytime he has a meeting with someone, he asks them if they want to meet in the sauna for a business meeting. Because he's like, then I'm killing two birds with one stone. Like I get my sauna time and I feel amazing. And he's like, people seem to be in this like zen state when they're in the sauna and they like really take to whatever they're trying to, I don't know, talk about. But instead of the sauna, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be doing my meetings in the sauna. But I started asking like if someone has a business meeting or wants to talk, whatever, any type of meeting, I ask to meet for like a nature hike. And it's like so interesting when people are, their minds are just different, whether it's in nature or certain types of activities. Like it's kind of like a tip for everyone listening as well. It's like, take advantage of those situations, either for wanting to apply it to your own health and fitness journey, just like, oh, you're getting your walk in and you're getting your meeting in, or it's so cool to see how people respond differently when they're out in nature.
Totally. I love that because so many people just talk on the phone, and it's like, if you have the ability to meet somewhere and go for a walk, and even just like in your own home, I think at the end of the day, a lot of people sit down and chat about their days. Like take it out on the street, go for a walk. I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
The sauna one would like, can you imagine the sauna one though? If you just have back-to-back meetings, you just be all shriveled up at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't know. I think it'd be a bit awkward, but it depends who you're meeting. But he loves to do it. So I thought that was awesome.
That is awesome. What do you have today for a topic?
Okay, so I kind of want to interview you. So for those listening, I mean, by now, I'm sure we know that Alex is married with a son, Emerson, and I really admire your relationship and your relationship with your son. And I think a lot of our listeners are also parents, and I'm not a parent yet, and I hope to one day be, but I would love to talk about how to apply this health and fitness journey, but how to make it healthy for raising a kid. Like, I don't even know how to really make this into a topic, but like a healthy relationship with health and fitness, but also involving your children to not make it detrimental or more like too much pressure on them as they get older. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. And it's I'm not going to claim at all to have perfected this. He's only been around for 5 years, but I'll be happy to chat about it and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Just some of the things you maybe have implemented in your day-to-day life with him. He's an active guy, and I see it whenever I see you guys in real life, which isn't that often. And you can see his love for being outside and his playfulness. And I'm just curious, like, what your approach is going to be even as he ages.
Yeah. Okay. So what I want to start with is like, the first thing I think we should start with is just being very realistic about your expectations. I came into parenthood with such unrealistic expectations of my health and fitness. Before Emerson, like my priorities were completely different. I was married.
Mm-hmm.
So we still had that dynamic. We had a house and we had jobs and that kind of thing, but it's like, you don't have a tiny human to take care of, so you can put your workout wherever you want to put your workout. You can do as much meal prep as you want without it directly affecting someone else's life, right? And so coming into parenthood, I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep all of that. And truthfully, like before Emerson was born, there were lots of days I would train twice a day. And as soon as he was born, I was like, oh shit, this isn't going to happen. So I wish I had been a little bit more prepared for that. and it took me a long time to wrap my head around that. And I know a lot of people feel discouraged at first because they're like, oh, I'm not the same version of myself that I was when I was younger. But this all circles back to that all or nothing thinking, and like just being realistic with what you expect of yourself. I had to let go of the idea that training twice per day was the only acceptable amount. I had to let go of the fact that it was either I'm 100% or I'm not, because there's that whole world in between where we can exist. There's that whole world of still making progress. Maybe it's a little bit slower, or focusing on things a little less intense, but we still can make progress. And that admittedly took me some time to get to that point. But once I did, it's really, really freeing, knowing that it doesn't need to be 100% to be enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I think sometimes, like, we coach obviously a lot of moms, and sometimes when I'm explaining situations or we're telling them, like, we're making setting goals and stuff, I have a whole bit harder time understanding or relating. I can understand versus I struggle to relate because I'm not that parent yet where I have that free time. So I really try to take into kind of what you as a coach and how you can relate to them, and try to portray that, because man, I can't imagine all the time that these little humans take out of your life. Like, I've babysat many times, so I can understand the busyness and whatnot. But yeah, it's definitely an adjustment to the schedule.
It is for sure, but like your priorities shift too, right? Like I talk to people about this all the time. Even like so say your main goal is weight loss. It's never going to be your number one priority. There's going to be other things more important to you than weight loss, whether that's family, friends, career, whatever that might be. There will be something more important to you than weight loss. So it's going to rank somewhere down there between like second and 10th priority on your list of most important things in your life. As it drops a notch on that priority list, it becomes more challenging. As it moves up a notch on that priority list, it becomes easier. And sometimes you don't even notice it because it went from like 8th to 9th or 8th to 7th. If if your number one priority changes, you absolutely realize that. But when something down that list of priorities has shifted, you don't even feel it. You're just frustrated. You're like, why am I not making progress? Well, you piled something into your life that's more important to you right now. And that's fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's something to be aware of. So for instance, I used to train, my workouts used to be probably an hour to 2 hours in length. Now they're 20 to 40 minutes, always fast. I get the stuff done that I know I need to get done, and I don't worry about the bonus stuff that I used to do. I don't do accessory work. I only do compound lifts. And then I prioritize whatever else is important to me at that time. Going back to that priority thing, leading up to a Spartan race, it would be like a 20 to 40 minute workout this day or this session, and a run this session. I'm just not doing some of those other things that I will prioritize during the rest of the year. Now I'm not running. I've taken running away. I'm doing other forms of cardio and circuits because I don't have a race coming up in the near future. So I can prioritize some of those other important things right now. Am I advancing as quickly as I was when I was 20? No. But do I really care? Not really. I just need to put things into perspective, right?
Yep, that's cool. Now, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know this isn't exactly where you wanted to take this, so we can shift towards that now, in the inclusiveness of having a kid. But I think that was an important thing to start with for people.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. I think it's a good like reminder or eye opener, depending on what type of listener we have. Okay, so then we can shift it more towards, as Emerson obviously started to walk and run and become more active. Like, do you incorporate them into these forms of movement? This sounds a little bit crazy, but like my fear, I'm sure a lot of people, my fear is that my kid won't love health and fitness or the outdoors as much as I do. And I'm sure that's just like a silly fear, because you just include them, I assume, and then hopefully they start to like it. For those
Yeah.
listening, I'm not expecting, but I'm just asking this question.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever met a kid that doesn't like moving.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we create environments and worlds where they get comfortable not moving, right? Like, don't get me wrong, you can't force a kid to love a sport or love something specific. Like, we put Emerson in hockey. Does he love it? Not really. If he doesn't want to do hockey anymore, I don't care. I could care less. I just want him
Yeah.
to keep moving and exercising. I don't care what that looks like. He could do gymnastics or football or hockey or dance. I don't care what he wants to do, as long as
Hmm.
he incorporates fitness and movement into his life, especially at a young age. And I think it's really good to get a wide range of different forms of movement. So I think it's great to do it with you as a family, but I think they also need some form of structure. So early on, we put them in things like swimming and gymnastics because they're really, really versatile activities that are going to translate to whatever he chooses to do in life. He did gymnastics for many years, and I think that's one of the best things you can put kids into. And then from our standpoint, it's just you have to push your own comfort zone. It's like it's never ever going to happen where your kid is the issue. You can't get outside and do something. If I'm like, hey buddy, you want to go outside right now, and he's watching TV, he's going to say no, I don't want to. If I put him into his snowsuit and go outside with him, he's going to outlast me 100%. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you are the adult, you have to force it a little bit, but at the end of the day, the kid loves it. Like, they want to be out in nature, they want to be moving, they want to be active. We as humans are designed to be active, which gets progressively harder and harder as we age and we don't nurture that relationship with movement and being outdoors. But at a young age, if we force it, I guarantee they're going to love it. I
Yeah.
guarantee it. I like
So
it often happens that I ask him to go for a hike. He doesn't want to go for a hike. We get in the bush and he wants to stay in the bush as long as I'll let him.
it's just that initial
Yeah.
getting them out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And I remember too, I think when you used to post pictures when he was younger, you guys would take him out, like strap him to you if he was too small to hike or walk. Or I'm even thinking nutrition, like pictures of him just like hammering broccoli, and everyone comments like, what, how is he, like, he loves that kind of thing. It's just, but you just expose them right at that age and make it like a normal thing.
Yeah, and it circles back to how I started this conversation, just being more flexible in your approach and getting away from that all or nothing. So are there days I've missed workouts because of it? For sure. But then we get out for a hike, like it's a trade-off, right? I get to spend that family time. We get out in nature, we're still being active. Is it going to improve my strength goals? No, it's not. But I'm okay with that. I don't have as aggressive health and fitness goals anymore because my health and fitness goals have dropped a notch as my family has risen a notch in my priorities. And so I will always prioritize my health and fitness. But like, do I care if I can deadlift 400 or 500 pounds anymore? It doesn't really matter to me. There's a point of like, being strong enough is great. Being a little bit stronger isn't going to change anything in my life, really.
That's a really cool point. Yeah. With it just makes me think about with Coach Kelly. Coach Kelly is really great with goal setting, and there was a workshop with our clients, and she mentioned just when we're setting goals for the new year, and I'm assuming this will be probably in 2023 for when everyone's listening. She mentioned like taking your categories like family, friends, or personal, and taking your category of health and fitness, and putting like two big goals under each heading. But what's cool is you're kind of like, you have your goal of whatever your health and fitness is, and you have your family goal, but stacking them together. Totally. It's not, doesn't have to be, I'm going to work on this goal separately and this goal separately. Like you can even make sure that they kind of relate with each other so that both of them are going to get tackled, which is cool.
Yep. And just like us as adults, like when you eat terribly, you don't feel good. Nobody does, right? And sometimes we start eating terribly so much, we don't even realize that because it becomes our new norm. the same thing applies to movement. When we don't exercise, we don't feel great. When we do exercise, we feel great. But you can easily fall into the opposite side without even realizing it. You can stop exercising, you can stop eating well, and it's a slow transition into not feeling great. So you kind of forget what feeling great was. Well, you were in charge of that for your children. They don't have control over that. So when we see kids acting out, this is the same with people, this is the same with dogs, this is the same with kids. When we see kids acting out and they're not getting enough exercise, like, that's on us.
Yeah,
that's on us to get out there and move them, just like we have to prioritize our movement. And we don't have the same energy demands that a child has. Children have a ton of energy to burn. We need to give them an outlet there. So you have to step outside your comfort zone and accommodate that, just like you should be prioritizing exercise in your own life. You might only need 20 minutes of exercise. That kid probably needs 40 minutes of exercise.
Yeah.
And so the same thing applies to nutrition too. Like, of course, if you give the kid the option of broccoli or pizza, they're going to choose pizza. So am I. But they can't even comprehend why they should be choosing broccoli. At least we have that understanding. So does Emerson love vegetables? No, but we make them as delicious as possible. If he eats his vegetables with like ranch dip, I don't care. I don't care if he's eating ranch dip. Like, make it so that he enjoys the process a little bit, so that he grows up eating vegetables and he gets used to eating vegetables, right? And then as he gains that understanding and knowledge of why we eat vegetables, it's not going to be like, oh my God, I haven't eaten this in 18 years and I hate it.
Exactly. Yeah, their palate's just not even ready for eating it because they never had it before. Yeah.
I wouldn't say we're super strict though. Like, we're not waking up at 5 a.m. to take him for runs, and we let him eat. We let him eat junk food, and we let him sit on his butt and play video games. Like, he does all of that stuff. It's just, it really comes into like scheduling in the BAMs, the bare ass minimums, the non-negotiables that I would schedule in for myself. I have to schedule that in for him because he's not going to do it for himself yet. Right. Yeah, that's it. Like, I think we have a pretty loose parenting style, with some non-negotiable expectations of what he needs to grow up, and so that health and fitness is always a part of his life. Like I said, I don't care if he goes on to play high level sports or anything like that. Like, I know there's the parents that think they're going to have the next Connor McDavid. Newsflash, you're not. And I think
that's the most important takeaway though. It's like, as long as health and fitness is something that they're aware of, acknowledge, and want to incorporate in their life, like, that is the goal. It should be the goal.
We don't like doing things we suck at. That's human nature, right? Like, if I had to go play in a hockey game, I would suck and I would hate it, because you like doing the things you're good at. So if that goes to health and fitness in general, if you slowly let your health and fitness decline, you enjoy the process less. Until you improve your health and fitness and you become good at it, it becomes more enjoyable.
So true.
Right. Awesome. So that's easier said than done, of course, but that is the absolute truth. The more out of shape you let yourself get, the more unhealthy you let yourself get, the more this journey is going to suck in the beginning. But it doesn't take long to get back into a good routine where you're like, oh, I'm getting better at walking, I'm getting better at climbing stairs, I'm getting better at lifting these items, I'm getting better at working out, eating healthy. I'm seeing the results. Now I'm starting to enjoy it. The first getting that ball rolling in the first place is always going to suck. So it's definitely, these are the habits and the goals that I'm trying to instill for him at a young age, so that he's not starting from a setback.
Love it. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
For sure. Yeah. I don't know if it helped anybody. I mean, I don't claim to be a perfect parent by any means, but that's the approach that we're taking. At the end of the day, everybody says, like, how do you do this? How do you do this? Well, you have to do what makes sense for you and your family, and you have to make it work. And everybody's situation is going to look different. This is what has worked for us so far. He's only 5. let's see what happens at 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah, we'll do this again in 5 years. No, I think too, like it's not just about you, saying what you guys do and what works for you. It's more about the take homes that you kind of mentioned after each. And I think that's what's going to resonate with a lot of people, or just some really good reminders to be like, yeah, you do this every day for your kid. Why aren't you doing this for yourself? Right. And it might be like, those that are listening, they're like, yeah, I always schedule in my kids' movement. I always make sure that they're eating good meals, but then I'm eating all of their leftovers, or I'm putting myself second. It's like, let's start incorporating things together a little bit more. At the end of the day, I think there's some really awesome take homes here that I think a lot of parents, or even not parents, will really enjoy.
Hope so. If you're listening to this and you have anything you want to add or ask about, shoot us a message for sure. I've got a tip that I think could help a lot of people. We talk about meal prep a lot. Meal prep's daunting for a lot of people. The idea of sitting down on a Sunday and making a bunch of meals. So one thing that we did recently was we bought meals from a meal prep company, and they're expensive. Don't get me wrong, they're expensive. So I don't think this is ideal for day-to-day eating, but it works out to like $12 to $14 per dish. So the way I look at this is, it's much cheaper than going to a restaurant. It's much cheaper than us ordering like skip the dishes, something like that. So what we did, they come in like a nice vacuum sealed, like microwavable container. We bought them and we froze them. So now we've got like 10 of these healthy meals ready that are in line with our goals in the freezer, that aren't cheap. So it's not like you're going to have them every single night for dinner. It's for those in a pinch moments, and it completely erases the need to do meal prep. Right?
That's cool. That's a great idea. Yeah.
I think meal prep's really important, especially to save money in the long run. You can't do this every single day for lunch and dinner. You're going to go broke. But it's for those days where it's like, oh crap, we didn't do meal prep. Now we're going to order in, which is going to cost you probably, like with a family, it's going to cost you $70, and your kid's not even going to eat the hamburger you order them. Like, I can relate to that. And so this gives you an option on those nights when you're in a pinch.
Yeah, it's such a good idea, because it's like, we always talk about, making chili and then making it 2 batches to freeze half of it. But it's like, this is just in case you're not even getting to the point of able to meal prep. Those are the backup ones. I love that. It's good to have. I actually live close to my mother, and the joys of her stocking my freezer with 3 prep meals is basically like paying someone.
Yeah, perfect. Even better if you can get your mom to
so I always have those in a pinch meals in my freezer too.
That's awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you found some helpful takeaways from this episode, and make sure you share it, rate it, comment on it, spread the word so that we can get more listeners like you guys. Thanks for being here.
Cool. Thank you.